Chairman, thank you. Mr. Becerra, it's good to see you. I know it's a tough process to go through. You've walked through this. You've been on the other side of this in the House of Representatives to walk through a lot of these issues. I do need to get some clarity on a couple of things that we've not talked about so far. As California Attorney General, you sued the federal government over 100 times, including multiple times dealing with issues about conscience protection that you would specifically have to now enforce on the other side of it. And so I'm trying to get some clarity on this. There's a Conscience and Religious Freedom Division at HHS. They have compiled the 25 different conscience laws that already exist in statute that are law, and to say that HHS in the past wasn't always consistent in enforcing those laws, but they were going to actually be consistent because there were laws on the books. So my question for you is, will you continue to enforce existing federal law on conscience issues when you get to HHS, and what will you do with the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division?
Senator, here, and by the way, thank you for the chance to respond to the question. It's a critical, important question. And I believe deeply in religious freedom. And I will make sure that as Secretary of HHS, that you will know that I will not only respect the law when it comes to these issues of religious freedom, but I will enforce them as Secretary of HHS within my department.
So the challenge that I have in just processing through this is some of the history there. Obviously, when you were Attorney General, you had suits that went all the way to the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court overturned some of your decisions, specifically in conscience issues. For instance, the issue of the FACT Act that came out of California, requiring pro-life facilities have to post in their facility, here's a way to get an abortion instead of having your child up for adoption, which feels very much like promoting abortion, not just providing abortion. It's a very different issue on that. You argued that case all the way to the Supreme Court, ultimately lost because the Supreme Court said what's obvious to everyone. You can't require someone to say something they disagree with. That's a conscience issue. Another conscience issue was the Little Sisters of the Poor and other groups like that that said, hey, we don't want to participate in an abortion-related health care. And about 28,000 Californians lost their health care that fit in with their conscience based on how you were combating with those folks. So help me understand the disparity between those two.
So, Senator, again, it's important to provide clarity there. As you mentioned, I was in these cases. My job as the Attorney General is to defend the laws of our state. In the first case, you referenced a law in our state, and which, by the way, had been upheld in court. It was ultimately overturned by the Supreme Court. As you said, it was overturned, which means up until the Supreme Court, I had been defending the law of our state. In the second case, the actions we took were against the federal government, and once again, we were defending our state's laws and its rights under the law. Some cases we've lost, some cases we've won. Where we have lost, I can assure you that right now California is following the rules that were provided to us by the Supreme Court. And so we'll always abide by the law, but it's my obligation to also defend the laws.
So you're going to be in this unique situation where you were litigating against HHS in these areas, and now you're going to have to flip and actually try to defend those areas. And I'm trying to figure out how that's going to fit for you and if there's a conflict of interest in that.
So to clarify, and that's a great point, and I think I say this for everyone to hear, I will have to abide by ethics rules. I will be signing an ethics agreement. There are certain cases, because I handled them as the Attorney General within California, I will have to recuse myself from certain cases where I was involved at the state level. And certainly, because of the ethics agreement that I will have, there will be always a check on what I'm doing to make sure that it doesn't somehow conflict with what I have done previously as the Attorney General.
Yeah, this conscience issue is really important. For a healthcare provider who believes that a child is a child, whether they're in the womb or whether they're outside the womb, that's a child that God created and has value and worth. It's exceptionally important to be able to honor the conscience rights of that individual, and they not be compelled to be able to perform an abortion or to participate in an assisted suicide or something where they have a conscience issue with that. And this is going to be a very significant issue that you're going to face that in previous times administrations just ignored and did not enforce.
Senator, I hear you very clearly, and as I said, I will respect the law as HHS Secretary.
There are multiple grants and aid that's out there that there'll have to be decisions made over whether faith-based entities can get grants or aid at the same level as non-faith, non-faith-based entities. Excuse me. Here's the challenge. In some previous administrations, if you're a faith-based entity, you were not allowed to participate. strictly because of your faith and the structure of that. Supreme Court has now stepped in pretty clear decisions over the past several years to make it clear you can't discriminate someone on the basis of their faith. Will you make sure the grant and the aid proposals from HHS are equal for faith-based entities and non-faith-based entities for the same issues?
Again, you raised the issue, regardless of what your perspective is, right? Wherever we all may fall on these issues, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure, at least I do, if I'm fortunate to be the Secretary of HHS, I have to follow the law. And there I will tell you that we will make sure that we are following the law.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask for 4 different letters to be entered into the record that folks have sent to me and to other members of this committee.
Without objection, that's so ordered.
Thank you.